Hi there and welcome to Bustthenet. It's time to make a curry-flavored version of the 4132. A 4132 is a narrow system. So we're going to be looking at getting our wingbacks to move up the pitch. We're also looking at our two side midfielders to control some parts of the flanks. We need three players to play a critical role in our system, our wingbacks and our central defensive midfielder. Then in midfield, we need both our side midfielders to do a certain job in protecting the flanks, while number 7, who's going to be a central midfielder, we need him to attack and move through the channels. Up front, ideally what we want to do is get somebody in one of our attacking group to drop down and support midfield, and one attacker basically to be hanging around the box, but we do need him to go wide to support some of that wing play that we expect to see happen. Visualizing how our tactic plays out is very important. We can control our defensive area with a well-placed DM, and the two side midfielders help us control the flanks. In the middle is the zone that we want to try and improve control over, with a player punching forward, two side midfielders protecting the flanks, and one striker dropping deep to support play. There are many ways a 4-1-3-2 can play. Essentially, it's a defensive system. The two strikers up front allow you to play deep and hit balls on the counter with direct passes from either the two wingbacks and the DLP, or you could try and push forward and camp in an opponent's half, but you will need to be able to control the final third zone very, very well. While a 4-1-3-2 is certainly a narrow system, when you play on lower mentalities, you are definitely going to give up position on the flanks. This means that teams might find it easier to get down the flanks and cross the ball. This could be a great strategy to draw teams in. What you then need are defenders who have got great positioning, jumping reach and heading. They clear the danger, it lands to your DLP. Your wingbacks could have direct passing, risky passes on. Your DLP could have direct passing, risky passes on. They launch deep attacking balls all the way to your two strikers up front. When you play on higher mentalities, then you need to consider how you can defend the flanks. These 4 players will have that job to do. Now, our two side midfielders will be Carrileros. The whole goal here is to make sure that they help to defend the flanks, while the two wingbacks help support the attack. In FM17, I managed to protect the flanks using central midfielders and support. In FM18, we now have the chance of using a new role, the Carrileros. So we'll be using two Carrileros in the side midfielder positions. Both players need to have good attributes to perform this job. At the very least, they will need positioning, work rate, determination, anticipation, tackling, passing, and composure. While some of these attributes may not be listed as key attributes for the role, the reason why we've gone for them is because we want to be able to have the option of playing this tactic on various mentality and shape settings. The Carrilero is a good role to choose in the game because his zone of influence includes protecting the flanks, and these are the areas that we expect to see him operate in. Unlike the box-to-box midfielder, he operates in the zone between defense and attack. We also need other options in our 4-1-3-2 to create some unpredictability. Here we'll be looking at how our central midfielder on attack can be used to create overload situations in the final third. A 4-1-3-2 is a very versatile tactic. It can be used by lower league sides, it can be used by top sides. It gives you a lot of options in attack. It gives you a lot of options when you want to camp and counter attack. But the key lies in final third movement. If you're camping in the opponent's half, it looks something like this. Here we're going to expect the central midfielder on attack to work very closely with the two Carrileros to create overloads. The 4 midfielders are the key to getting the system to work. We need the central midfielder on attack to be very good on the ball. He needs to good off the ball, passing, decision, vision, flair. He probably will need to be able to dribble the ball, hold out the ball, find passes, unlock teams. So composure is going to be a very necessary attribute along with first touch. When he moves across the pitch, he's expected to work very closely with the Carrileros. We should be able to see them form partnerships together where they pass the ball to each other, hold up the ball, drag players to them, freeing up space to be exploited by either the wingbacks or the opposite flank. It's time now for us to take a look at some of the roles and duties that we'll be using to create 3 variations of the tactic. The goal here is to have 3 kinds of strategies. In the first strategy, we want to play low-risk football with the opportunity to counter-attack intelligently. This is not a pure counter-attacking tactic. The goal here is still to maintain decent levels of possession, but we want to use the ball intelligently, and when we do get the option to counter-attack, we want to use it. To get these instructions to work Well, what we're going to do is we're going to start with the sweeper keeper and tell him to use his own decision making when it comes to making passes. We're using a sweeper keeper here because vision is now kicking in for distribution for goalkeepers in the game. On the left flank, we'll be using a wingback on attack who will be given the more direct, more risky passes, PIs. On the right flank, we'll be telling the wingback on defense to take more direct passes. And along with the DLP on defense, these three players will be given the latitude to play balls from deep. In other words, I'm asking them to be my heat-seeking fullbacks who can launch balls from deep. In front of them, there will be an AP who's been told to get further forward with more direct passes as a play instructions. The two Carrileros are going to have a very simple setup. They will both be told to shoot less often. The DLP on defense will also be told to take more direct passes and more risky passes. Up top, we will have a pair of strikers. One will be a false nine who will drop deep to support the area between attack and midfield. And he will be expected to work closely with the attacking playmaker. Supporting him will be a poacher on attack who will be asked to move into channels. Overall, the tactic is expected to play on a counter mentality with a structured team shape. We'll also be telling the team to work the ball into the box, float crosses, play wider, use the offside trap and prevent short goalkeeper distribution. Remember that the goal here is not to create a pure counter-attacking tactic, but a system that will play intelligent football with elements of counter-attacking embedded inside them. Our second version is a more risky style, which will be played in the opposition's half. This is the camping version of the 4-1-3-2. It runs the risk of opening up your flanks to gain the reward of sustained pressure in the opponent's half. It can be used by teams with solid players, but it will require speedier defenses and more intelligent central defenders. In this version, we have to be very careful in how we employ the offside trap. If the AI turns to a deep 4-2-4 or a 4-2-4 late in the game, this system will be vulnerable. So we should always be aware of what the AI is doing in terms of its play style. The team instructions that we'll be using will be shorter passing, play out the defense, work ball into box, float crosses, play wider, use offside trap, roam from positions and prevent short goalkeeper distribution. Here we have locked in shorter passing because we want to encourage the team to keep the ball. However, with the player instructions on some of these players, the option of launching direct passes from the back will still be used. Up top, we will be using a complete forward instead of a poacher. In this particular case, he will be told to move into channels. A poacher can also be used, but here we are using a complete forward instead of a poacher because we want more unpredictable movement in the opposition area. My next version is the attacking version of the 4-1-3-2, but don't get confused. I'm using the control mentality. You don't necessarily need to have an attacking mentality to have an attacking style of play. You can achieve that with a control mentality as well. The goal here is for me to get quick transitions underway with a structured mentality and with the few attacking duties that I have on the pitch. Ultimately, I'll still be depending on the same four chaps to play their direct passes: the wingbacks, the DLP, and the attacking playmaker. Everybody else has the same PIs as before. One thing to note here, in all three versions of the tactic, I do recommend you going out there and getting your DLP trained to dictate tempo as well as look for killer balls, because this will give you other options as well. I hope you enjoyed this edition I hope you've enjoyed your serving of curry for two. The 4-1-3-2 explained. If you have any questions, you know where to find me. You can always look me up on Twitter at Bustthenet or addicted2fm.com, my website. Once again, I'd like to thank my patrons for their continued support on my channel. You make this kind of shows possible for the rest of the community. You guys take care and have a good one. Bye-bye.